to another is kind of crazy, but this one is kind of an interesting topic, man. It's got a lot of people thinking about rappers, especially drill rappers, maturing in the rap game, right? Because you have J.H.E. Ruger and Memo600 linking up. Despite the past accusations about, the violence between their families, that his brother allegedly shot and killed, they said that his brother shot and killed Memo's brother.
Lil Steve.
They actually, Lil Steve, which is, the namesake of Steve Drive and all that, right? What do you think about this, man? Because that's forgiving a lot and showing a lot of growth there. Now, is this a genuine step forward towards peace, or do you think this is a PR move?
Now, a couple of years ago, when we were doing our 4 Lessons to Learn From series, we covered the story of Memo's brother, Lil Steve. He was a prominent member of the drill culture whose life was cut at what seems to be the start of the drill scene. But his death, along with others, are one of the ones that was one of the craziest stories when you hear how he actually passed away. Would you believe us if we told y'all, before Lil Steve was shot unalive back in 2011, he was literally just 3 blocks away from his house. He was walking home, and before he passed an alley, or gangway as they call it, he was stopped by a man who told him not to go by that alley because there was guys in there and he seen them with guns in their hand. Now, I don't know if Lil Steve didn't believe him, but honestly, I would say that man was a guardian angel trying to protect him. However, he must have not thought that the man was serious or just flat out didn't listen. Lo and behold, as he proceeded to walk, someone popped out of the alley and would proceed to shoot him multiple times, where he was also struck in his head. He was taken to a nearby hospital where he was pronounced deceased. Now, every time I hear this story, the first thing I think to myself is, what if he would have listened to that guy? Now, as a matter of fact, who was that guy? Because he literally came out of nowhere, tried to save his life, but unfortunately, Steve wouldn't listen. However, we're going to get into the story of Lil Steve and everything that may have led to him losing his life, on top of the people who may have been involved. Speaking of that, I just seen a montage on FBG Dutchy where they're saying he's alluding to something, and I'll just let y'all see for yourselves. Now, I'll leave it at that. Not even going to take it there, but shout out to Dose of Mystery. If you want to see the whole video, I'll leave a link pinned in the comments so you could go support their platform. But in the meantime, make sure you hit that thumbs up button so we can get this video into the algorithm. And if you not subscribed to the platform already, make sure you do so now. Let's get into it.
Back at y'all with another Chirac Street Legends, and this episode is going to be about none other than Stephen McGee, aka Lil Steve.
I'm from Steve Drive, D-Block, Steve Drive.
Lil Steve is originally from the New Park area, 109 or 109th. He used to claim the Lynchman Sircon gangsters, or the L's. He would make his bone in 600. Or 60th and King Drive and 59th and King Drive, what would actually later be renamed Steve Drive in his honor.
For y'all that don't know, whenever you hear Memo say Steve Drive, right? Or whenever you hear him say on Steve or on Steve McGee, whatever the case may be, he's referring to his little brother, Steve.
The death of Lil Steve, 600 was actually referred to as Bang City and Brick City as well. Lil Steve actually had a lot of love for both cliques, and even though he wasn't a rapper like his older brother Memo, he still got on the track and represented.
Yeah, it's Lil Steve, man, the fluff. Yeah, I'm with the Brick Bang City 600. Yeah, that's my clique. New Park, L's up. Yeah, that's the real clique. And don't know.
Lil Steve would move around the 600 area in his 8th grade year. He would begin going to Betsy Ross with the likes of Rondo No. 9 and Tay 600. Lil Steve was actually only with 600 gangbanging for about a year before he was killed. Within that year, Lil Steve would make his mark. Lil Steve had began to play with guns, and he was began to be known for robbing people as well. He was building his name up in the streets in a very short time, and Lil Steve would get to the point to where all of his ops would want to see him gone. One in specific, and that was M.O.B. Scrap. 600, which
Now, for y'all that J.H.E. Ruger, right? This is why the significance between J.H.E. Ruger and Memo600 coming together is actually dope. This is what I was referring to. If y'all remember when they was pushing peace and they were saying, oh, we pushing peace, we pushing this. I said it's only right when two people come together that actually have beef or actually got some type of blood ties to each other or some type of real beef. So to see a person like Memo600 and JG Ruger come together and be able to talk with each other and have a conversation and be cool, that's dope, because not only were they going back and forth with each other at a point in time, their brothers got real history between each other.
And for everybody that's wondering, you know what I'm saying, why me and Memo, you know, chopping it up like don't know is, like, I done been around folks' mama, you feel me, and seen her pain, like seeing her cry behind this. I got to see from a different angle, you feel me? I seen folks' mama cry behind it, you feel me?
You know, I be telling
my
everybody's
mama,
story different.
my mama met Memo mama, you feel me? Like, they hugged and cried together. Real. If our mama could do that, why the we can't? You get what I'm saying, bro? Look who the hurting, bro. We ain't hurting nobody but our OGs.
Has been known to be involved in several wars. When Steve was alive, they were heavily into it with Gyro City and MOB. There was also certain frictions in the O Block, Front Street, 600 alliance at first, but then things would smooth out and they would eventually become tighter than ever. Lil Steve would jump off the porch at a very early age, and fights would quickly escalate into shootings. Lil Steve and certain guys from MOB would end up shooting at each other a lot. Mind you, these guys were only 12, 13, 14, and 15. Crazy. They were really in the streets getting it in, and Lil Steve was known as a shooter from 600. He was known as a guy that wasn't gonna play with you. And before Lil Steve died, he was actually trying to kill Scrap. He had shot at him several times. Everybody just seemed to love Steve because Lil Steve just had that type of personality. He would just draw people to him. Plus, Lil Steve was the type to take up for people if anybody was bullying anybody that he was cool with. Lil Steve took up for a lot of guys when they were younger, and there was a lot of guys that began to look up to Steve and that began to really love Steve. If you was 600, Lil Steve wasn't having it. Lil Steve also had family on the other side of the spectrum, such as Gyro City Booby and Gyro City Skinny.
Now, for y'all that don't know, right, we got to cover the story on Gyro City Booby because she was known as the setup queen. We're not sure how true it is, but she's been accused on numerous of occasions of setting guys up because she was another one that was cool with both sides. See, that's the thing about these guys in the drill culture. A lot of them have ties to each other on the opposite side. So could you imagine that you're at war with somebody, right? You're at war with these guys on this side. Y'all want to unalive each other. But at the end of the day, y'all all got close affiliates with each other. Whether it's the parents, whether it's cousins, whether it's blood related, no matter what it is. These guys really be family or long lost friends with each other at a point in time. But now they want to take each other's lives. Crazy.
He talking about I heard Wooski as you running. Oh, Steve, y'all crazy. On Biddy, they blinked at me one time.
Oh, Steve. One time on Lil Steve missed every shot. I was, oh, Steve McGee, I'm laughing at they shoot. I ain't gonna say no names. I don't know police.
He know who he is. He blinked at me one time. This was like 2013, right before I got booked. I'm tweaking, walking up the street getting that. I'm blind as hell too on phone him. I get that.
Remember Memo Teeth? Shout out Memo, man. He came a long way. A lot of people wonder why he got braces now. They taunt him for having braces. Let me tell y'all, man. You can't taunt anybody that actually needed it. He realized, like, listen, I don't care what they say. They gonna say I was old and I got braces. Who cares? He fixing it. I mean, shout out to Memo and his glow up, man.
Phone him, he get that. We both get that. They just get the boom, 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 boom. Steve, oh, LA on Steve, they missed every shot. On Steve, Latrell, and they locked all us up that day. Them and me. I'm in there with them on Lil Steve. I'm in the station with them. I ain't never flashed about on Lil Steve. Yes, I got shot at before. They never killed nobody on their hands.
See, I bugged up my last song. I ain't with the wolf and discussion on video. I cut my pop. Skinny from Gyro, that's my little cousin, Keon. That's my blood cousin. He with that shit too on Steve. That's my blood though.
Crazy.
Straight opera.
See what he's saying though, right? Like we said before, these guys are every bit of cousins, some type of siblings. This one related to this one mother know that one's father, and vice versa. It's crazy. But whole time, these be the same guys that want to take each other's lives.
I got a lot of ops cousins. Y'all will be surprised. Oh, Lil Steve, why this nigga King Yellow jumped in my DM this morning? Straight goofy on Steve. Then I'm pop you already on Steve, boy. I already shot you. Boo man, what's up? That go another one of my op cousins. Y'all get on Steve.
And you know what's crazy? How ironic life works? Now Memo and King Yella, I'm not going to say they the best of friends, but they doing interviews together. They with each other. They talk, they DM.
Damn, man, I'll be outside. I'll be like, damn, man, I'll be hoping I can catch a nigga outside. Catch a nigga. Wow. Yeah, y'all hate that. Yeah, y'all hate that. Yeah, nigga, it's the right.
See, y'all got to remember a lot of these guys, and this is why I like going back to these videos, because now we see a little progression. A lot of these guys are older now. Now they got kids. Now they experience what life is really like. So they're not just in that young state of mind. They grew up, right? They got children, they matured, and now they trying to do something with themselves. So whereas when you go back to this time, they was on straight demon crazy time.
Boo man, they finna get on your ass. They go another one of my op cuz that's blood. Get on this little ass, y'all. Hell no.
Memo600, who was the older brother of Lil Steve, was a lot more laid back until after his brother died. When his brother died, Memo600 started getting in the streets heavy. He started pursuing a rap career, and it ended up working. Now Memo600 is signed with OTF.
Who did? Who did it? Hey, huh?
90% of this is probably here. In this case,
What is it?
Lil Steve was on the drill scene before the drill scene was considered to be the drill scene. Lil Steve was on scene way before anything took place with the BDs becoming famous. Actually, he died before the BDs became famous. Him and Chief Keef were actually good friends. And according to Memo, this is how he met Chief Keef. Steve knew everybody that was a part of the early drill scene, whether they were ops or whether they was on his side. And if you think about it, if Steve would have lived, he would have been right in the midst of the drill scene when it first popped off. And who knows? Maybe Steve would have been famous.
Now they say that the reason why Memo is known, or why some people, well, I can't say like, because a lot of people dislike Memo at this point in time, but they're saying that it's because of his brother Lil Steve. Everybody always give credit to his brother. I don't know how true it is, but they're saying that he was the one that was really like that and Memo wasn't. Now, everybody's going to always say that depending on who you ask, but at the end of the day, everybody is their own man. But judging from what he's saying, that Lil Steve was widely liked by everybody. He was close with Chief Keef and all the drill guys from earlier on. Like he said, maybe Lil Steve would be famous or be right there with Chief Keef in LA if he was alive. Because if y'all know, Chief only took a certain amount of people, right? Tato, what's the other guy's name? Ball Out, and just a few others, but that's really it. Those are his circle. Everybody else, he done left in Chicago.
Lil Steve had been shooting at MOB Scrap. This was confirmed by MOB Scrap himself in a tweet that said something along the lines of, Lil Steve was on his ass, but he couldn't go like that. He had to keep that bacon on him. Basically saying that Lil Steve was trying to take him out, and he had to do what he had to do before he ended up dead. On September 19th, 2011, only 5 days after his 15th birthday, Lil Steve was walking up the block on South Perry Avenue, 60th and South Perry Avenue to be exact. When he was walking up the block, Lil Steve was warned by a guy that rode past on a bike. He told Lil Steve that there was guys waiting in the alley with guns.
Let me tell y'all, to this day, right, like I said, I wonder who that guy was. Do y'all understand how, like, the probability of somebody warning you right before you lose your life? Like, what's the odds that I'm walking up the block and somebody on a bike, keep in mind, he's not walking, he's on a bike. He just decides to pick me out of everybody to say, yo, listen, I don't know, but there's people in the alley right there, and I've seen them with firearms in their hand. Do not go there. Do not go in there. Don't walk past. Whatever the case may be. What's the odds of a person on a bike stopping you out of everybody and tell you not to go over there? And you still do.
Steve ignored it. He let it go one ear and out the other. Lil Steve would continue to walk. With only a few steps after the man had warned him, Lil Scrap from MOB would pop out of an alley with a shirt over his face and began to shoot. He would end up hitting Lil Steve in his head and in his torso. The police would be called. Lil Steve would be rushed to Stroger Hospital, where he would later die. After the death of Lil Steve, the term Steve Drive would become more popular. But here's the thing, Steve Drive was already being used because a guy that went by the name of Stephen Hill would be killed a couple months earlier in that same area. This is initially who Steve Drive was named after. This is why some of the members say Steve Drive 2 times. After the murder of Lil Steve, Lil Scrap would soon be picked up at his house, which was only 2 blocks away from the murder scene. Lil Scrap would be picked up and charged with first-degree murder, and he would have to go to trial and fight those charges. Turns out, someone from 600 actually identified Scrap as being the shooter.
See? And I can't lie. A lot of people gonna go with, oh, these guys was young. And yeah, they was young, but they was young enough to understand how to take a life. They was young enough to understand how to get arrested. So at the end of the day, that don't mean nothing. You should be old enough to also understand that you don't tell. You can't sit here and be a shooter and tell at the same time. That don't work.
But tell us about Scrap.
Scrap him up too. Oh my grandma, what? Cause you gotta think about Bite Down Babyface. Them niggas got all Rondo. Them niggas got on the stand on Scrap when Scrap killed Lil Steve, right? Don't talk about that though. Motherfuckers forget that happened, right? So that ain't happened in no period of time.
I done ran through that on the Reddit. So say it again.
Bite Down Babyface. All them little niggas, they Rondo. All of them got on the stand on Lil Brian after he killed Lil Steve. That ain't happened though. I really think of what's going on. So when Scrap would end up going to trial and beating the case, Scrap would end up being killed 3 years later in 2014. And I think that what we can learn from the death of Lil Steve is this. A lot of times we underestimate our opponents. We tend to think that we're bigger and we're badder and we'll always have the ups on them. But in all actuality, it's almost never like that. Because our opponent has the same 50% chance that we do. Which means that we must never underestimate our opponent. We must always take our opponent seriously. Because just like you can win, your opponent can win.
And that's a fact. And that's pretty much it with the video, y'all. Y'all get the gist of it, how everything transpired. Basically, Lil Steve, who is Memo brother, was into it with MOB Scrap, who is J.H.E. Ruger's brother, right? They're saying that Lil Steve was shooting at MOB Scrap, trying to get him, but somehow MOB Scrap got the drop on him and ended up unaliving him first. See how that works? Nobody's untouchable. You gotta be on your P's and Q's 24/7. But the thing that gets to me the most about this story right here is the man that was on that bike that warned Lil Steve. Who was that man? Because he seemed like a guardian angel. Now, he didn't listen, which resulted in him getting shot and unalive. But once again, who was that man and why did he approach Lil Steve? But on another note, right? Now that y'all know this story between Lil Steve and MOB Scrap, now y'all understand why I said seeing J.H.E. Ruger and Memo sit down with each other and have a conversation where they even said their mothers spoke with each other and the whole 9 yards, that's dope. That's really pushing peace, because these guys really have some type of history between each other where blood was spilled. So if they both can get over that and come to terms with each other and talk, that's dope. That's real pushing peace, seeing these two together, right? Not people that never really had it out for each other. They were just on opposing sides, so now they come together. That don't mean nothing, because you really wasn't beefing with each other for no reason in the first place. Just because you GD and you from that place and you BD and you from the opposite place, y'all beefing. If y'all come together, that don't mean nothing, because there's no real history. There's no real blood that was spilled for you to feel any emotion for you not to do so. But if there's real blood that was spilled, there's real feelings, real grief opposed to somebody, it makes sense, right? For the world to see if they know the history between the two. Y'all jump in the comments, let me know what y'all think about this. How do y'all feel about the story of 600 Lil Steve, Memo's brother? Y'all let us know in the comments, man. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you're notified every time we drop new content. And remember, as long as you keep on watching, I'ma keep on dropping. I'm out. Are you tired of a bunch of social media gurus promising you results with their course, but all they do is take a bunch of information off YouTube and Google, then sell it to you? Well, look no further. Our YouTube Tips and Tricks Masterclass course comes equipped with SEO tips and tricks, along with methods we use to growth hack our YouTube channel. It also includes step-by-step ways to publish your video before uploading to guarantee a great SEO score, therefore your videos can rank and be shown to a bigger audience. Views and subscribers don't come by luck, and just how YouTube have an algorithm, you should have one as well that can guarantee you results. We're doing websites and softwares we personally use to generate money creating Faces YouTube channels. If you also would like to skip the process and just buy other pre-built accounts, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook, we also threw that in there for you too. We went through trial and error, so you don't have to. Click the link in the description or the comments and get started today.